In this video, we're going to have a look at how to use a centralized location for data, an options page. We'll use the free version of Advanced Custom Fields and CPTUI plugin, and we will then create our options pages, and then we'll distribute that information on the website. So here we have physical address, the contact number, the telephone number here at the top, and then we have this header notice and the footer notice. So to show you how the header notice and the footer notice work, I head over to the options pages. I'll go to all my options pages. I'll go to site-wide notices. And what I'm going to do now is delete the notices for the header and the footer, head back to the website, refresh the page, and nothing to display. Head back, add in my notice, update, and now you'll see that the notice is back. The next thing that I'll do is I'll just show you how we can update these details. So I'm on the contact page and I have my address on the page, but I also have it in the footer. So I head over to my options pages, and in this case I'm looking at the website contact details, and I'll just add the number 1 to the end of each line, and I'll change the number from 4321 to 6789. We'll up the page, head over to the website, refresh, and now you'll see that the telephone number 6789 and the 1 at the end of each address item. So all that information being pulled centrally, and what I've also done is added a link here on this number so that when you click on it, it will actually then initiate a call. So what I'm going to do now is show you how I've put it together. So let me show you the plugins first of all that I've used. So what I've done is I've used the custom post type UI to create my custom posts called options pages. Then what I've done is I've used advanced custom fields to create the fields to use. And to then show you how that works is that let's head over to the custom fields. And you'll see that if I go into one of these custom fields, I've created the custom fields. And then what I've done is I've assigned them to a specific post. So they will only appear then on the options pages that are relevant, and they won't appear anywhere else. So that's just how I've set it up. And then the custom post type, I've set that up in a way so that it's not searchable, it's not queryable. And we're on the options page now, and if I scroll down, you'll see it's not available publicly. It's not queryable. And what I've also done is I've only made the title as one of the support. So when you open up your options page, you don't see that text field at the top. Well, that's the very basic overview then of how I put it all together. And then, of course, when we come to the snippets, we've created some snippets. For example, these are the snippets to see if a field has a value and then to return true. And those were used in the conditions. And then here we are inside Bricks Builder. And basically what I've done is for example, on the header notice, I've inserted the header notice. I've added the condition that if the custom field for header notice has a value, then display that top bar. And I did the same for the footer. So in the footer section, there is also the same methodology. So you'll see here in the footer, we have this footer section and also then a condition that only show if there is content. And there's no condition on the physical address or the contact numbers because I will assume there will always be data for those fields. Right, so to get started, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these elements, and I will then just walk you through how these are all put together. So we'll delete that. Let's just delete that section. And then what I'm going to do is delete this information as well. And I don't want to, let's just delete it all. Right, so we've deleted the footer data. Then I'll head over here to the header and we'll delete the header section. Right, so that's deleted. Let's save that. And then the last thing to do is to head over to the contact page, edit with bricks, and then I'm going to delete the contact information as well. So that's pretty easy to do. Right, so there we have everything deleted, and now we can head over and start setting it up. So the way to do this, the very first thing that I do is I create a custom post type. Right, so what I've done is I've just quickly deleted the previous options page, so we don't have that options page in the menu, and then I'm going to create the new options page. So we'll call that options pages and singular options page. And then we're going to scroll down and we're just going to change some of the settings here under settings. So it won't be public, won't be publicly queryable. We will show it in the nav menu. If I scroll down here, we can just say exclude from search is true. We don't want people to search for it. And for the rest, then we can leave as is. The other thing I like to do is just change that menu position to a 10, so it appears here at the top of the menu. Scroll down, and we're not going to need the editor, and we're not going to need the featured image sections. So with all that done, let's add the post type. And now you'll see that we have options pages here on the left-hand side at the top. Now what we're going to do is create the custom fields that we're going to use then in the options pages. But what we need to do first, so we can allocate where they go, is create the options pages that we're going to need. So we'll head over to options pages. I'm going to delete these. So delete those. Trash. Right, so those deleted, and now what I'll do is I will add new. So the first one that we'll add then will be the site-wide notices. We'll publish that. And the second one that we're going to add will be the address details. Now you'll see that there's nothing to see on these pages at the moment because we need to add the custom fields. And we created these first so that when we go to custom fields and we create the field groups, we can then allocate them to those pages. So let's move those to trash. Right, and now we can set up the new field group. So the first one that I'm going to set up then will be site-wide notices, and they're just going to be text fields, and the header, the label will be header notice, the field name header notice, and then we'll also have a footer notice. So add field and footer notice, and we can save that. Right, so we've saved that. Now we want to allocate it to that particular post. So we'll change this here to post, and that post is equal to, and we scroll down till we see options page and we see the site-wide notices. So that's the site-wide notices done, and we can save that. The next thing that we're going to do is add the field group for the address. So add new, and we'll call this address details. And so here, what we're going to do for the address is we're going to change that to a YC week editor. And the reason for that is that if we just do a text area, the information is displayed next to each other. But if we do the YC week editor, it'll actually respect the rows of each particular address line. So there we'll put in the field label as, and let's call this the physical address. Right, so that'll be the physical address. And then the next field will be the, let's call that the contact number. And then we can save the changes. Right, so we've saved those changes now, and now we allocate it to the particular post. So post is equal to, and we're going to scroll down here and look for, under options page, we're going to look for the address details. We've saved those changes. Now I'm going to head over to the options page, and you'll see here that I have the address details, which I can now complete, and I also can do that for the options. So what I'll do here under address details, I'm just going to go address line 1, address line 2, 3. So there we have our address, and then I'll just do an area code. So that's the address, and then the contact number. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that would normally be a 0. So what I can do though, just for right, so that should be the correct format then for the number. So if we want to use the same number in the link for the URL, then of course we need to change the number so that it's just the international code without that 0. So let's leave it at that for now, and then we'll update. So that's the address details, and then I'm going to do the site-wide notices. So let's do the header notice and the right. So we've set up the options pages, we've added the values. Now what we need to do is head over to Bricks and start outputting and putting this all together. So what I'm going to do then is also I'll be creating some snippets. So we'll just head over to snippets. Right, so here we have the header and the footer and then the contact page. So quickly then in the header, we're going to add a new section. So we'll add a section. We'll move that right to the top. Okay, so and now what we're going to do is add that custom code. Now we can't head over or what I can't do now is use the dynamic way of adding a field value. So if I set post title, for example, I can click on post title and I can get dynamic content to fill that space. So I could allocate, for example, or maybe not the post title, then let's add text. So if I go rich text, what I can do with rich text here is I do have this option here to pull in, custom fields and even from advanced custom fields. The problem with this though is that if I was to pull in, and in this case it'll be the contact number, it's not going to work because the contact number isn't being served from a traditional or normal advanced custom field. So it's not going to pull in that number because the number is not associated with this post. So what we have to do is not use the rich text, is we do need to use a code block to show that. So what I'm going to do here then is add some code, and the code that I'm going to add then is very simple. It's just the most basic way to output a field, and it'll be the field, and then it's contact number is the name of the field. Now what we need to do though is if I now activate this, you'll see that there won't be any contact number displayed on the page, and the reason for that is we need to tell the field here where the post is to get that value, what the post ID is. So to do that then I can head back to my options pages. I'm on the header notice, and here at the top you'll see the number 366. So I will head back and just pop in 366 over here. And now if I was to output, we should see the value then if I have my field name correct. So header notice should be header notice and I've done contact number. So let's just go. Right, so my apology, we're going to do the header notice first. So we need to just, right, so there we have the header notice. So we do need that additional field now because we're not using a normal options page. We're actually using a custom post type and a specific page ID. Right, with that in place, what we can do now is centralize that header notice. So you'll notice that if I head over here and say align center, the code doesn't center, and the reason for that is because the code doesn't have a width assigned to it. So we can head over here to the width and simply change that to auto, and now my header notice is in the middle. Then what I want to do is change the background color of my notice. So at the top, I'm going to make it red. So let's go to the background and I'm going to make that red. And then what I'm going to do is now I can set the padding for the notice either at the container level or the section level, but I'm going to do it at the code level. And the style then there, head over to layout and we'll make it let's make it 10 pixels and ply all around. So there we have the notice, and then we're going to just make it white to stand out more. And that's here, typography. Right, so there we have everything done in place. We have the header notice. So I'm going to save that. And then what I'm going to do is just go into the preview mode. That looks good. And then we'll open the page and I'll move that to the far right. So there you can see the header notice is working. And now what I need to do is do the same for the footer notice. So what I'm going to do is create the footer notice, and then we'll have a look at the conditions to only display the header notice and the footer notice if there is a value in the field. So we do the footer in the same way. So in the footer, here we have the footer settings. So what I'm going to do now is add a section. So add a section, and I'm going to move that section to the top. And then in that container, we're going to add a code again. So we add the code block. And then once again, we do the very simple the underscore field, and we're going to go footer underscore notice. Then we're going to put in the post ID again, and then close off the PHP. So to get the page ID 366, I'm going to head back to my footer template now, put in the 366, and then allow the code to be executed. You'll see we have the footer notice, and we're going to move that to the center again, and we do it in the same way. We go to style, we go to the layout, we set the width to auto, and then just on the container, head over content and align. We've aligned it in the center. In this case, though, what I'm going to do is change the background color as well, but not red. This time we're going to go for a different color. We can go for that turquoise color, and then once again we add some padding, and maybe we'll go a little bit more, and then I'm going to change the font color again to white. So right, so there we've set it up. We have the header notice and the footer notice, and now we just need to set the conditions so that they only display if there's a value. So there's the header notice and the footer notice. Right, so let's do that then. So I'm going to head over to snippets here. I'm going to add a new snippet, and I'm going to do, let's call this check notices, and then we'll add two functions. The first one will do check header notice value. Right, so we have the by check header notice value, and then the second one will go function underscore check footer notice value. Right, so now what we can do is just do a very basic check to see if it has a value. So what we'll do is just go notice equals, and we'll go get underscore field. So we'll put in the field name. So that's going to be header underscore notice. Now we need to get the post ID again, and that we can get here. So we go with 366 again. So 366, and then what I'm going to do now is just say if notice, then return true, and not the variable true, but I just want to return the word true. Right, so there we have our function. So if that field exists, then return true, and I'm going to copy that and paste that in here. And now I'm going to change just that header notice to footer notice, and everything else can stay the same. So there we have our function. Everything looks correct, and we'll save that. So now we can apply that to the header section. So I head over to my header template over here. And now what I'm going to do, this is the header template. Let's go back to bricks to edit. Right, then I'm going to go to the section, and now we're going to add the condition. And so before we do that, I'm just going to head back out to my snippet. And because we're doing the header, I'm going to copy the name of the snippet. And now we'll set the condition. And the condition will be, it's going to be dynamic data. Here we will search for PHP, output PHP function, echo colon, the name of the PHP function, and true. So save. Now what we're saying is that only output if it has a value. So here I am, and I'm going to refresh, and there's nothing to see. Let's just have a look. Why is that? Right, so we've said only if there is a value output. Section right, so we've said dynamic data, check the header value notice. If it's equal to true, then output, refresh. Right, so we should be seeing that notice above this line. So let's just have a look here. Dynamic data echo. The reason for that is because I haven't activated that particular snippet. So sometimes I do that. If you use Control Save, Control S when saving, it doesn't actually activate, it does save it though. Now that I've activated it and refresh, you will see that it shows, and I'm going to do the same thing now for the footer. So I'm going to head over to the footer, and I'm going to get the name of my function, head over to the footer. So here we are on the footer template, and I'm going to just go to that section now, add a condition, and the condition will be dynamic data PHP function, so echo colon, the name of the function, and we'll set that to true, save. Now when we're on the page, yes, we'll see both notices. Now I'm going to head over and remove the notices. Right, notices removed, head back to the website, refresh, and now they're no longer visible. Head back to my options pages, insert the items, update, and there we have the notices. Now what I'm going to do is have a look at adding the details in the footer for the address, and we're going to do that in a similar way. So what I'll do now is go to all options pages here, and I'm going to go and get the address details, and then what I'm also going to do now is just check here in custom fields and just make sure we have the right field name. So in address details, physical address and contact number are the fields that we want to insert. So I'm going to go over to the footer, and inside the footer section, I'm going to add a div. So we have the image here. That's the container we want to target. So I'm going to add a div. So there we have the div, and inside that div, I'm going to add some text. And what I'm going to do is do the rich text, and I'm going to just put that rich text in my div. Right. Now I'm going to target specific content, and you'll see now I'm going to remove all of this. And what I'm going to do now is simply select dynamic data, and you'll see that if I was to select the physical address, nothing will show, because once again, remember, we need the ID of that post. So rich text isn't going to do it, and we need to add a code in here as well. So we add code, and in the code, let's do the underscore field, and now we're going to go physical address, comma, that's where the ID is going to go, and then close. Right, so let's just check that page ID again, and it's 367. So head over to the footer, and we'll pop in 367. Right, and if I now execute the code, you will see that the address details are displayed. Right, so that's how we can enter the address information. If you see, the information is a little bit, like in this one, kind of formatted a bit differently. So let's just head over here and see how that outputs. Right, and you want to get rid of those extra spaces. It's quite easy. Just hold Shift Enter, Shift Enter, Shift Enter, and now the address lines will be lined up nicely underneath each other without that extra gap. Right, so there we have the address. I'm going to head back to the footer, and what I'm going to do is inside that div is we'll just add a title. No, we want to add a heading, not a title. A heading, and we'll just make that physical address. Keep it small, so I'll just move that up above the code. So there we have the physical address, and now I'm going to add the contact number. So to add that contact number, I'm just going to duplicate the heading, and I'm going to duplicate the code. Right, so the heading here, then contact number, and then the code. We'll edit, and we're just going to change then physical address to contact number, and there we have the contact number. We can save that, head over to the website, and there we have the physical address and the contact number. Of course, I'm not looking too much at the formatting, but that you can format in the way that you prefer. Now what we need to do is add the details to the contact page. So here we are. I'm going to close that off, and then here I'm just going to go to the contact page. Right, so now I'm on the contact page. Everything's working, and what I want to do is add some details. So we'll edit with bricks, and then we'll add the contact details here. So in a similar way to how we added it in the footer, let's add a 2-column layout. In the left-hand side here, we're going to add a title, so or a heading. So add a heading, physical address, and then once again we're going to add some code. So we add code, and then once again we just go the underscore field, physical address. We know the number is 366 for the page ID that we're getting the information from, and then we can execute code, and then we should see, is it 366? But 367. So 367, and now we should see the physical address pull through, right? That's there. Now, once again, we can just duplicate the heading. So that heading, we'll call that contact number, and then the code. Just change physical address to contact number, and now the contact number is updated. Right, then we can save. Right, so now we know that that information is in place, that is in place, and now what we want to do is add the contact number to the header. So here I am back on the header, and what I did previously is I added this section, this container within the header section, and what I did was then just pop in an icon, change the icon to a telephone, and now what we're going to do is add the contact number. So right, there's the container, and now once again we need to add the code. So we'll add the code. Right, the code added, and we'll go to content, and let's the underscore code, and this is contact number. We know it's 367. Right, so there we have the code, contact number 367, execute code, and the code, the field. Right, so now we'll get the number popping in, and you'll see that the formatting is all out now, and the reason for that is because we need to change the width here on that code field. So over to Style, Layout, and Size to Auto, and there we have it in the corner. Now what we want to do is add the telephone number as a link. So when you click on it, you can make a phone call. Now we can't do that at the moment because there's no way that I could see where you can add a link to the code. So I couldn't find a way to add a link. So what I did then is I just added a div. So I added a div, popped the code in the div, and then I clicked on the div. And if you're in the div, then you can actually, under content here, change the tag to a link. So we changed it to a link, and then we can select the link type, and here we can actually get the dynamic data and get some dynamic data with that link. Now, because we're using the options page, which is linked to a normal page, and we need the page ID, we just need to write a quick function for that. So here on the same page, check notices, I'll just add another function here quickly. So function, and we'll call that get underscore contact number. And what we're going to do then is just use the get field. So we'll use number is equal to get underscore field, and it will be contact underscore number, comma 367, and then we'll return the number. But to make sure that the link is correct, we're just going to also add tell, so that when the when this is added on the page, you'll see here that we've added the normal get field, contact number from page 367, but we've also said return and tell colon and then the number, and that's the correct format so that you can make a call straight from your device. So with that in place, let's save that. And then I'm just going to copy the name of the function, head over to the header. And now when I'm on the div and I've selected the tag then to a link, dynamic data, now I'm going to be able to say here, I can go PHP output function and then colon, and that's the value that'll then come back from the function. So that's going to be the URL, and then I'm going to save. So now let's go and have a look at our page. You'll see we need to just let's just quickly maybe do it this way. Preview mode, open. Right, so here we are on the website, on the contact page, and you'll see now that if I click on that, it says make a call from. So we've added the link to that number, and you can see we have the address details. Now if we make a change to the address details, so here we are, and what I'll do is I'll just add a 1 at the end of everything, 2 1s, and then I'm going to change the telephone number to 6789 to 5432. And we'll update that. Head over to the website, refresh. And now you'll see that the numbers change wherever it needs to change. And also, if we have a look at the link on that particular button, you will see that the ahref is equal to tell and then the telephone number. So that is working as it should. Right, so that's it. Everything is working as it should. So that's how you can create your site-wide notices and have them show or not show depending on whether they have content. And then also how you can change and update your address details all from your own set of options pages. And then, of course, you can create as many options pages as you want for different areas. And that makes it really quick and easy to update. Well, super. Yeah, well, I hope you enjoyed that video and thank you for watching.